All right, we are now finishing part 2 of our cell organelles.
Yay!
We left off last time talking about our Golgi apparatus, Golgi body, Golgi complex. As we said, it has various names. Any of those are what you'll hear it referred to.
Golgi whatever.
Yeah, Golgi something, it's that one that, remember reviewing, it was like the post office. It's the one that distributes things throughout the cell. Next, we're going to move on to our other organelles that have various functions. First one we're going to talk about is mitochondria. Mitochondria, you also see it referred to as mitochondrion, because one is singular and one is plural. They supply energy to the cell. As you've probably heard in the past, they're referred to as the powerhouse of the cell. They are surrounded by 2 membranes, and that is the site of cellular respiration, which is where it produces ATP, which is something we will go more in depth in next unit when we start to talk about cellular respiration.
Yeah, and from my experience, you guys are really good at identifying the mitochondria as the powerhouse of the cell, but you don't know why. Okay, so it's powerhouse because of what Mrs. Hood said right there. It produces ATP. Okay, and we'll get into that in more detail.
And people kept asking me in class, and this is not something you would need to know, it has these folds inside because this is the area in which the production of energy occurs. They're folded, they're called crystalae, and it's folded because that is where it will have more surface area to produce this. That's something you will not necessarily need to know for this unit, but a little FYI for the future.
Yay! Okay, so some other vacuoles let me try that again. Some other organelles that we need to talk about are vacuoles. Okay, so a vacuole is just a large fluid-filled vesicle located in the cytoplasm of a plant, or a certain protist. The vesicles in the vacuole in a plant cell is referred to as the central vacuole. It's important because it helps to store water and enzymes, other waste products from the cell. It makes the cell rigid, and it helps the plant to stand upright. So think about when you bit into an apple, why did it crunch? Part of that comes down to the vacuole putting the pressure and creating that crunchiness.
Ew, you're eating vacuoles.
You're eating plant waste. You don't really want to know what an apple is, but that's a topic for another day. So one question that I know was asked several times in class as you guys were coloring is difference between vacuole and central vacuole. And the central vacuole is just a more highly specified, or more, what would you say?
Specialized.
Specialized, thank you. A more specialized vacuole that is found only in plants. Okay, anything you want to add?
No.
All right, cool. I think we can move on.
Okay, we also have lysosomes. Lysosomes contain digestive enzymes. These enzymes, I know, these enzymes can digest or break down proteins, carbohydrates, lipids, DNA, and RNA.
Wait a second. Didn't we just talk about those in our last unit?
Whenever you did the first activity with the cell chart, lysosomes were referred to as like the Lysol, or the cleaning up of the cell. That's kind of how they work. They have 2 main functions. They work, 2 main ways. By enclosing and digesting food using a vesicle of enzymes, and by recycling organelles. Jeez, I can't talk now.
Okay, so cool thing about phagocytosis, that's the word that's in the parentheses there, in case you were wondering how to say it, is that this is actually the membrane that just kind of pinches off and surrounds whatever's inside, and it dissolves it. Well, it doesn't dissolve it, digests it. Okay, and that's really all I have. I think it's cool.
My biology teacher in high school referred to them as the toilets of cells, and I always remember that.
I like it. Toilet of cells.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Okay, so other organelles, centrioles. These are tubes that are found in centrosomes. Okay, centrioles help to divide DNA and the centrioles form cilia and flagella. Okay?
And flagella and cilia are those little tails and hairy things that are on the side, like on the animal cell today that you colored. It was the tail, well, it wouldn't be today, but the animal cell that you colored, it was the little tail that was on it. Also, bacteria will have flagella. Another thing is your centrioles become a very hot topic when we start to get to DNA and mitosis and meiosis. We will talk about them a lot.
Yep, they're very important. So don't just forget this stuff. File it away somewhere. Ooh, cell membrane. This is fun stuff. Okay, do you want to tell me?
You seem excited. You can go for it.
Okay, that's because cell membranes are really cool. They are this thin, flexible barrier. They are, well, I'll go in order here so I don't throw everyone off. Functions, they regulate what enters and leaves a cell. They provide protection and support for the cell, as well as organelles inside of the cell for eukaryotic organisms, because remember that's one of the differences between eukaryotic and prokaryotic. Eukaryotic has membrane-bound organelles. End of the day, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and they're selectively permeable. What does that mean? It means they only allow certain things in, and that's going to be determined on a variety of different criteria, such as their charge and their size, and we don't, I think, really have to get that much into it.
No, I think that on your chart that you did, it referred to cell membranes, which the semi-permeable would be like a bouncer at the door or like a security guard that they only allow certain people or certain things in. That would be an analogy for you for cell membrane.
Yep. Or another one would be like if you ever had to cook pasta and you wanted to drain it out of a strainer or colander, that would be a selectively permeable container, because it lets the water out and keeps the noodles in. Now I'm hungry. Parts of the membrane, it's a lipid bilayer. Okay, so these down here, each individual one.
Wait a second, those look familiar.
Those are phospholipids.
What?
I know.
You know
so
that
cool.
Things we learned about macromolecules are coming to play now?
What?
That's not fair.
We're just evil like that. Okay, and then there are proteins. Those are these weird looking things in here. Those are your proteins. Here, I'll draw an arrow. Or a line. Maybe. Proteins here. And then we have carbohydrate molecules. Okay, that's that stuff right there. Okay, those are just, they're attached to proteins. They can also be attached to lipids. They just basically are like dog tags, if you will.
Now, can you explain something to me real quick in those lipid bilayers that you drew? Why are they lined up like that?
I don't know.
I think that, doesn't that go into our macromolecules?
Wait a second. Okay, so the heads are polar. Polar means they've got that positive and negative charge, just like you have the north and south pole, those opposite charges that are attracted to the water. So those heads are hydrophilic. They really like water, and they want to be with the water. The tails, not so much. They are nonpolar. They do not want to be by water. They're hydrophobic. They want to be away from water as much as they can. And so they form this nice little barrier where the heads are pointing towards the water and the tails are protected from the water in between the heads.
No
Is
way.
there anything else you'd add to that?
No way. No.
Okay. Yes way.
Okay, then we're going to talk a little bit about plant cells. Plant cells have cell walls and chloroplasts. It's something that makes them different from animal cells. The cell wall is going to be that outside covering that provides a rigid support. It's outside the cell membrane. It will allow some substances in, for instance, water, carbon, and oxygen. And what is that called when it allows some substances in?
Selectively permeable?
Yeah.
What?
I know, it's all stacking up.
It's
This is
all
ridiculous.
interconnected.
They provide support and protection, the cell membrane does, and it's made up of cellulose. That word looks familiar too.
Wasn't that like
Macromolecule?
yeah.
Like carbohydrate?
Yeah.
That's weird. They're found in plants, algae, fungi, and prokaryotic.
Prokaryotes?
Prokaryotes, sorry.
Prokaryotic cell.
Yes.
Prokaryote.
I should have read the word that was on there. Confuses them when I use many words.
We should just,
Well, just grunt. Like
All right. Are we ready?
One more.
All right, last slide.
Yeah. Then our last thing
And we're
we
done.
have chloroplast. Chloroplasts are actually my favorite because they're those things that give leaves nice color. They convert solar energy into chemical energy, and they contain chlorophyll, which is that green color, and they are found in plants. Later on, if you decide to go into more of botany, you'll get to learn about the different types of pigments that cause the leaves to turn colors.
Yeah, it's cool. I think it's cool too, because chlorophyll, I don't know, it always messed with my mind to think that the colors that we're seeing are what's not being absorbed by the chlorophyll, and so those colors, those pretty colors you're starting to see now is because all these chlorophylls and different types are starting to break down, and they're not able to absorb things like the yellow wavelength, red wavelength. Cool stuff.
That's one of the main things that makes them different from animal cells, is that they have those chloroplasts that contain chlorophyll. Also, that cell wall, and also that large central vacuole.
But what about that green lady on Star Trek? Do you remember?
Lady? No, I didn't watch Star Trek.
No.
Yeah.
Fail.
We know who the nerd is. All right. Well, that concludes your cell notes. So if you need more clarification, make sure that you hit us up during collaboration.